Hi Gemini. Welcome to December and the final month of 2019 before we move into 2020. This has been a very interesting year for you in particular. Jupiter was residing for most of the year. It shifts sign on the 2nd of December. But for most of the year, it was residing in Sagittarius. Now, depending on where you are, degree-wise as a Gemini, if you are a late degree Gemini, if you're born towards the end of June, you will not be feeling this shift for a while. And you will still be experiencing Jupiter being in your 7th house. But if you are an early degree Gemini, if you're in May, you will have begun to feel the shifts that Jupiter is making as it moves into Capricorn. So, Jupiter being in Sagittarius, this year Gemini has put your partnerships, your one-on-one partnerships, be it business, be it romance, but I think for most of you, it applies in the sense of romance. For those of you in partnerships, long-term or short-term, there seems to be a series or one specific event of difficult circumstances that either broke apart partnerships that you didn't think would break apart, or it pulled you stronger towards the person you're currently with. If you have been single for a long time, Jupiter has most likely blessed you with some sort of hope. And if not yet, Jupiter usually leaves a gift towards the end. So December for you is always about partnerships because it is Sagittarius season. Four of Pentacles. I think for a lot of Geminis, you're holding quite tightly to what has been taken from you or to what you still feel like you have in the midst of everything else being shifted. I think you're clinging quite tightly to something. And if you're not clinging to something, you're holding yourself together in a way that is self-protective. If you have Cancer in your chart, it's almost as though you're holding yourself like a Cancerian, or possibly to a Cancerian. Mercury enters Sagittarius in the 9th, joining the Sun, and after that new moon in Sagittarius, you're more clear on what it is that you want, romantically speaking, going into 2020. You have a better idea of what you're looking for. I think a lot of you that have come out of something aren't ready for it just yet. The Empress. A lot of you are holding tightly to a Libra or a Taurus, but others of you are starting to find that with Jupiter entering Capricorn, which is of course your 8th house, which is a very, very intimate place to have Jupiter, you could benefit a lot from the people that you merge with. The 8th house is very deep merging, and as an air sign, you like your space, but you're very intrigued by the deeper people that make you feel as though there's more to discuss. And with the Empress, it's almost as if you're finding that romantically speaking, you're actually attracting a lot of interesting people. And if this isn't romantic, if for a lot of Geminis this is holding on to the idea of some sort of, although I think it is a pain of sort, 10 of Swords, I think for the male Geminis in particular, a loss of some kind that you find very difficult. But I also sense that for women dealing with problems, because the Empress rules the mother, but it also rules your feminine aspect for Geminis, the loss of motherhood or the mother, or some feeling of inadequacy in your own feminine body. And for men, it is a lack of trust in the feminine. All comes into question as Jupiter moves into a very deep, dark spot for you. But I digress. That is not a bad thing. The 8th house is pretty good as far as money goes. But the 5 of Swords, though, the full moon in your sign, the full moon in Gemini on the 12th, many, many, many things happen. It wouldn't be a Gemini full moon if there wasn't a lot going on with Mars, with Venus. Mars being in Scorpio. Speaking of Scorpio, there we go. Death card. And Sagittarian energy, Temperance. Yep. Jupiter in your partnership sector brought some troubling developments in your relationships. And if you are single, there is a lot of pain there, possibly surrounding an earth sign, a Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn. But I think, Gemini, what this is saying is that while Venus is still in Capricorn, before it enters Aquarius on the 20th, an energy that blesses your romantic partnerships in particular, you guys have to face a very uncomfortable loss. Four of Cups, Page of Swords, and the King of Pentacles. Particularly if you guys are dealing with an earth sign or something long-standing that you thought was stable and then it wasn't so stable. Maybe it's on unsteady ground at the moment, but you guys are dealing with some heavy stuff. And that's okay. If it is career, if it is business, Gemini, maybe you just have to accept that you are not okay with where you are, but you're not necessarily open to figuring out just yet what it is that you should be doing. You've all the time in the world. The 13th, the day after your full moon, Mars in Scorpio. Scorpio being, of course, your work house, your habits. Trines Neptune in Pisces. Pisces being your career zone. If you're very, very worried about your work and career around the 13th, 14th, you're going to be in your element and you're going to be able to make some clearer decisions, or at least get the ball rolling in terms of putting verbally out there what it is that you want to be doing or seeing. Maybe putting out your CV, maybe putting the feelers out, maybe having conversations, and yes, that goes well. The Moon, the Three of Cups, the Wheel of Fortune, and the World. No matter what strife or struggle or disappointments you feel at this present moment, Gemini, you're well supported by at least one or two of your dear, dear amigos. The full moon is going to bring you a change of fortune, a change of direction, a successful completion, even if what you're completing has felt like it could put you in an early grave at times. Other people's struggle, other people's stress, outside circumstances far, far beyond your own control. And here we are with you feeling like things are about to get a lot better, because you're going into 2020 knowing who you need by your side and who you don't. The full moon in your sign brings with it the opportunity for much expansion emotionally. The Wheel of Fortune and the World is as roundabout as we get. Things going in circular motion. You would be surprised at how when you wrap things up, they come full circle and you must revisit them again. Just as you wrap them up, you must revisit them again. Particularly if you are dealing with an air sign, a Libra, Gemini, or an Aquarius. But as we go into 2020, there's much for you to celebrate, and people that you know can survive the elements, the trials and tribulations that come with the world. People that you know won't change in the way that others have. The Moon and the Three of Cups. You are quite good at articulating what you think. I would hold on to that quite strongly. When Mercury wanders into your 7th house, Sagittarius, where Mercury is not necessarily so comfortable because it's very blunt, it embellishes things. And Particularly, it's not necessarily so comfortable with Neptune, which has recently stationed direct. A lot of what you're feeling around the full moon is confusion, and yet you've never been so clear, which is so Gemini. But it's also Piscean, the moon. In your shadows, in your uncertainty, rely a bit heavier on the advice of those that are proving to have the life that you want. Don't take advice from someone you wouldn't switch places with. I think for most Geminis, there is a strong male figure in a good job, in a good relationship, in good financial standing that you could take some advice from. Be careful not to smart at this person when they have what you have, because they will lead you to having the type of thing that they have. Take advice from the people that you want to live like. Reject the advice from people that have no clue, because they're there too. And they might tell you what you want to hear, and they might seem very sure of what you need to do, but they're not, because they're not there. So be mindful of that. It's interesting, Gemini, that what it is that you've lost this year that felt so very tragic, that felt so very uncomfortable, that you wanted to bring forward into 2020, you now are starting to get, as we move forward, a little bit of clarity that certain things were just never meant to happen at the time that they did. Or they weren't to continue forward in that timing, because the universe, everything about this wrapping up of events has a divine plan for you that makes you feel like, I understand why that didn't happen the way it should have in my mind. My ego said this should have happened at this point. My heart says it's broken, it's disappointed that this didn't happen the way it did, but I'm starting to see, when I'm talking to this person and when the full moon comes up, that maybe, just maybe, 2020 has something better in store. Matt, fairness. The situation will be handled in a fair and just manner. You could be dealing with a Libra, someone that works in the law, someone that's very level-headed, someone that, and this could be you, someone that can balance up the situation and give you pretty good advice. We don't have much in the sky going on in Libra, but Libra's ruler Venus is coasting through Capricorn. That 8th house energy of deep introspection, of the scary, of the taboo, of death, of magic, of mysticism, of joint finances, of taxes. What's scarier than taxes? But what's more certain than taxes and death? You can be certain of something else going into 2020. And it's much more pleasant. So, Gemini, we'll go more into this in the extended. We'll deal with the earth sign, the air sign, the water sign, fire sign. We'll also be doing the mid-monthly readings, with any luck. And I will see you in the extended listed below. Quite curious to go into it, because to lead from the Ten of Swords right through to the Wheel of Fortune in the world just means that things are finally turning in your favor in a way that you can see. They've been turning for a while, but this is a way that you can see. Ironically, well, not ironically, but very fittingly, the Wheel of Fortune rules Jupiter. The world is ruled by Saturn, which is Capricorn. Jupiter in Capricorn. It is going to transform your world in a way that you didn't see or anticipate, but it's going to be good. We know that much. Love you, Gemini. Bye.